And I'm talking about Michael Jackson, of course, one of the most influential and successful entertainers and singers ever.
He redefined what a pop star was.
Megastardom.
The music is getting out there again. Billie Jean.
The Girl Is Mine.
Thriller. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough.
Beat It.
70 million albums. He influenced fashion, the trilby, the white socks, the loafers,
The red leather jacket.
videos, the dancing, the moonwalk.
That is a skill.
Can't be surpassed.
Not my cup of tea.
Wait a minute. It's a hell of a legacy. Ooh.
Welcome to the Guardians of the Vinyl Vault. 4 old friends, 1 sacred vault, and a lineup of artists awaiting judgment.
Welcome back to another episode of Guardians of the Vinyl Vault, the podcast where somebody pitches for an artist and we have to decide where we put them into. Tonight, Richard is going to pitch for the King of Pop. Richard, is all yours.
Thank you, Rodney. And let's just say, I personally don't think we can have a vault of music and this particular person not be mentioned. I mean, to me, we are talking about one of the most influential and successful entertainers and singers ever in the music industry. The only other people I think you could possibly say was probably the Beatles or Elvis. And I'm talking about Michael Jackson, of course. Currently, of course, very much on the end of people's lips, because the film Michael is recently being released at the cinema, and to the critics, I think to their exasperation, it has been a massive hit. I've just been to an end of season football celebration with my youngsters team, and several of the boys were singing Billie Jean. These are 10-year-olds. They'd named themselves on the Laser Quest. One was called Billie Jean, one was called MJ. It's obviously the music is getting out there again to the young people again, which is on the Spotify charts. He's raced up the charts again. Now, this is just testament to the power of Michael Jackson. I came across Michael Jackson as a teenager when I discovered the album Thriller. Now, this was in 1982, it was released, and I probably got it that Christmas. And since then, I'm a huge Prince fan, Madonna fan, George Michael. But when we were talking about albums in our previous format, there's one album that has always, to me, has been almost the perfect album, and that is Thriller. And that's not because that's when I started to discover the running order of tracks, how important that was. And also, I would just fell in love with his voice, Quincy Jones' production, and I just loved the songwriting. Now, to me, that album is my favorite album. But we can't just talk about Michael Jackson, just talk about the album that we particularly grew up with. We must mention he had several solo albums. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the Jacksons per se, because, of course,
I bet you were before what happened previously.
No.
He's chucked that bit out, hasn't he?
No, because he's, as from the film shows, from a 6-year-old, I think a family of 8, 6 brothers, 2 sisters. He was identified as being the superstar quite early on. And he had several solo albums before Off the Wall. Now, I didn't quite catch Off the Wall at the time because it was released in 1979. Also, I probably would have been familiar with some of the huge hits like Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You. But I've listened to the album much more since then. But it was, and then of course I waited with trepidation for 87, 17-year-old for the Bad album. I went up to Belfast, bought it, and was so excited. And it didn't quite come up to the standard of Thriller, but we're talking about Thriller as being the best selling album, by the way, of all time. 70 million albums, right? We're talking about platinum level sales here. 500 million he sold in his lifetime. He influenced fashion, with his style, the sunglasses, the way he dressed. He influenced videos. We all watched Thriller, Billie Jean as teenagers, all of us on Top of the Pops, MTV. Of course, he changed MTV by his manager persuading them to play his music because black artists were hardly shown. Massive change in MTV. And of course, the dancing. We haven't mentioned the dancing. So, songwriting, fashion, his voice, his writing, his dancing. Okay, it's been proven that he didn't invent the moonwalk, but he took it and he made it his own by tweaking it. I mean, this guy, I mean, I want to concentrate on his music legacy tonight. I know Stephen is going to bring in the elephant in the room. However, we'll discuss that later, no doubt. Maybe you will as well. But this boy, at the age of he is, as the film shows, he had no childhood, and that is he was whipped literally into shape from a very young age, which is going to make you a different person than all of us. So I'm going to leave it at that, and obviously I'm going to listen to your opinions on Michael Jackson. But for me, it didn't stop there, by the way. The albums that came after that, The Dangerous, The History, Past, Present, and Future, even Invincible. Of course, it waned off towards the end because I think he was weighed down by all the emotional controversy. But my my personal opinion is that era that we grew up in, Thriller, Bad, Dangerous, can't be surpassed. Probably will never ever be surpassed by any other artist. Thank you.
Yeah, he likes
Brilliant. He
somebody to
got the thank
thank
you in. He got the thank
you.
you in. Yeah.
He may not thank us.
He might not.
He
He
hasn't
doesn't know
heard
what's
us.
coming next,
Right,
does he?
who's going first, Stephen?
Okie doke. There's not a lot I can disagree with Richard in terms of Michael Jackson's mega stardom. And funny enough, I wrote down earlier on this afternoon when I was getting ready for the podcast exactly what Richard said is only Elvis and the Beatles preceding Michael Jackson, and arguably since Michael Jackson, that have reached that level of stardom. He was just enormous. And not only was he enormous, Gareth, he was global. He was American, so he was big in America, but he was big everywhere. There wasn't anywhere where Michael Jackson wasn't absolutely huge. The Moonwalk, Neverland, MTV, famous friends, famous alleged partners. And he did that while also breaking the I don't think anybody would have admitted it at the time. Certainly, when I say anybody, I mean those that were in charge of media companies. The color bar that there were probably was, and he did that. He became the first black huge artist. And the music, again, an immense catalogue. His earlier, I will mention it, the early career with Jackson 5, with Berry Gordy, with Motown. And
Mm.
Motown were an established label. But the Jackson 5 pushed them into an even bigger level. And Michael Jackson's solo career it made them even more so. His later solo career, his collaborations with Quincy Jones, numerous pop music gems. But my personal favorites, ABC, when he was with the Jacksons. The Girl Is Mine, Beat It. They would be mine. He wasn't entirely my cup of tea, but I can certainly acknowledge some absolute classics in here. There is an elephant in the room. Let's leave that for the time being. We will revisit it. Gareth Rodney, up to you. All I'll say in summary, it's difficult to argue against him getting automatic entry for his musical impact and his celebrity impact.
Well, is it Stephen? Because, are his albums all absolutely complete? And, how much influence does the likes of Quincy Jones and other producers have around Michael Jackson? And is it possible that some of the
I mean, it's a fair point, isn't it? I mean, Berry Gordy, when he was with Motown, clearly Berry Gordy had huge influence over other artists, other Motown artists, and made them mega successful. Quincy Jones, similarly. But when I've read interviews, when I've looked at articles, etc. I think generally people do accept that he was, at the very least, a very prominent co-writer with the likes of Quincy Jones. I think
Oh no, wait a minute. I mean, off the Thriller album, he wrote "Beat It," "Billie Jean," "PYT," "The Girl Is Mine."
I think you'll just
Some of the other famous songs was a very obscure guy.
I,
Well, to most people, is Rod Temperton wrote "Thriller" and "Human Nature." But on Bad album, he wrote virtually the whole album. I mean,
no, I didn't disagree with you there. I was actually
yeah,
saying, yeah, you're right. I don't think you can question or query that. And I'll go further. Even if he didn't have a huge input in writing it, it was his performance of it, both his vocal and his choreographic. Is that a word? I'm not sure.
yes,
But his demonstration of it was what drove a lot of those hits earlier. I mean, there were some songs that were, quite frankly, pretty poor. Thriller as a song is not a good song,
no,
but
I
his
disagree.
performance and the video of it and his ability to convey that certainly are superb.
So can I ask you, would you guys put on a Michael Jackson album and play it? Or would you even, in your top Spotify playlist, do you have many Michael Jackson tracks?
No, but
Uh,
that's not the question for us. We've got to look at, so it's my turn probably just to give my views on it. No doubt he redefined what a pop star was. If videos like Thriller changed MTV, his albums for me started high. Maybe Off the Wall maybe being the best one, then Thriller, and then it went Bad was good, but then started going down after that. Singer, dancer, performer, songwriter, global influence in every single country, not just America, UK. There's been films written about him. There's been theater shows. I saw the theater show
Yeah.
uh, in London, and the fandom which it had was unbelievable.
I mean,
Fashion,
Gareth, I know that this all ticks. He was actually probably the most famous person on this earth.
yeah.
without a shadow of a
No,
doubt,
no.
Richard, I
I
would
have
entirely agree with you.
I
Agree.
have only one thing. Was he the only one thing knocking my platinum vault, but still could get there? Was he a singles artist, or was he an artist who made great albums?
Well,
Jump in.
I can answer that just quickly. Now, the Bad album, which I don't think was is a clear, smooth album as Thriller, had
Mhm.
7 out of 10 singles on Bad. Now, the three singles that weren't the three tracks that weren't really singles to me were the average tracks on there, like Speed Demon, uh, and just Another Part of Me, and the Stevie Wonder song. But 7 songs out of 10 were extremely good. I mean, I've written down The Way You Make Me Feel. Now, Rodney, you say, would you put that on? My goodness, if you put that on your car stereo, The Way You Make Me Feel is he wrote that, by the way. Man in the Mirror,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I love, it's people forget about the song I Just Can't Stop Loving You, which
I
was a
just thought
duet with Saida
you.
Garrett. Now, Stephen, it's probably a bit too uh lovey-dovey, but if you actually listen to that song, I'd never heard of Saida Garrett, and I've researched this today that apparently they did that on purpose because they were considered Whitney Houston amongst others, but they wanted somebody who wouldn't overshadow because he'd been away for 5 years, and they wanted him to. And her voice was, I don't know if you remember, you could hardly tell the difference with the voices. It was hard to tell who was singing which line. Do you remember? But that's an often forgotten. They knew wasn't going to be the blockbuster song, but they thought it was a lovely song just to blend people back in and show off his voice. I thought that was quite interesting when I researched that today. I still think it's a lovely, lovely ballad.
I'll come in a little bit on Richard's defense here. Gareth, you're a numbers man.
Yeah.
We've established that over many years. Love a spreadsheet. Love a little pie chart love a graphical analysis of somebody's career. Michael Jackson's career doesn't bear comparison to almost anybody that you could bear mention, with the possible exception of Elvis and the Beatles.
Hmm.
Was he a singles rather than albums? Possibly. Don't really matter. Look over Richard's shoulder. There are some. He's not my taste. Would I have him in my Spotify playlist? No. Would I tune into if there was, I don't know, a Netflix special from a Michael Jackson concert from 1987 showing tonight? Would I watch it? No. In terms of his musical success, in terms of his global appeal, in terms of the differences that he made, I slightly disagree with fashion. There wasn't that many people going around with jeweled gloves. But if it comes to achievement alone in terms of the music, there isn't an argument here as to whether he gets into the vinyl vault or not. There just isn't. There is another argument, and we're edging closer to it.
Yeah, I look, I have a little challenge. I think ultimately, I wonder whether sometimes the persona and the legacy and the hype actually sometimes distorts the detail, right? And in terms of you go back and say, how many great albums did he have?
Rodney, he's got the best-selling album, bar the Eagles' greatest hits. The best album, solo album, is still. It's still. I mean, Thriller is the best.
You're talking about one album, Richard. I'm saying, I think you've got Off the Wall, you've got Thriller, and you've got Bad, are genuinely great albums. But as a solo artist,
yeah, but Rodney, three really good albums in anybody's career makes a Hall of Fame.
Look, I know, I get it. I get it. Look, I have a bias here. I'm not a big Michael Jackson fan. That's not to say that I don't respect the impact he had and the scale and the fact that, he went from being a child star and was, in very difficult circumstances, and then recreated himself and all of that type of thing. I come back to, I don't own one album, not one, in any form, digital.
And I don't.
I mean, either do I.
I've never listened.
But do we as guardians of the vinyl vault, and indeed do our listeners, comment below, like and subscribe, do we also have to acknowledge
yes
the fact that whilst he may not have been your particular musical taste, do we, when you reach the level of immense success, immense adoration, immense fandom that Michael Jackson achieved, then surely there has to come a point where you put your own personal foibles aside and go, yeah, he was amazing.
Yeah, I am. And that's what I'm doing. But I'm not doing it from a place of, to be honest, even great respect. And I know there'll be a lot of voters out there who go, how dare you? But I just, I've no doubt his influence on music. I've no doubt about that.
You see, but I think, Rodney, in this case, I like that kind of, a bit like Gareth, that kind of pop, R&B, soul, disco. I like that type of music. So as a 12, 13-year-old, and I heard Thriller, I was just like, I mean, the big tracks don't even come to side B, apart from Thriller at the end of side A. But it started with, Wannabe starting something. You put that on. It's amazing.
Richard, I'm not denying
and every
that.
song is a sing-along. It is like you get it immediately and you want it.
And I found it
for you.
I found it interesting that Stephen mentioned "The Girl Is Mine" because I thought he would think that was particularly cheesy, but I actually like it because when I listened to it the first time, I love the fact that the way they would. I'm a lover, not a fighter, Paul, and that this is a guy from the Beatles having singing lovely harmonies with Michael Jackson, and of course they did it again with Say
Yes.
further down
Yeah.
the line.
Yes, I know, and I'm looking at the track listing of that album, Thriller, and Want to Be Starting Something, it, right? Baby Be Mine, The Girl Is Mine, it. Thriller, obviously, Beat
Yeah.
It, Billie Jean, most of them.
Human Nature,
I don't.
PYT, and then it finishes
Why?
with a lovely song, Lady in My Life. Beautiful
I'll
song.
be honest with you. I don't know those last three tracks. I can't instantly tell you what they were, but at least I know off the top of my head 66% of those the tracks on that album.
So what is your argument against then?
It's not so much an argument against. It's just, I guess it's first of all really not my cup of tea, right?
Okay,
But
and-
Rodney's got rock roots.
I know
Gareth,
personal
Gareth,
taste.
remember, Rodney's got rock roots.
Yeah.
Led
No, but-
Zeppelin, rock roots, and it's I've no problem with the fact that Rodney probably was not listening to Michael Jackson when I
Yeah.
was, because he was listening to Led Zeppelin. We've discussed that. He had,
Is there-
Stones.
is there-
No, it's
is there-
it's
and
more
maybe
than
it's-
that, Richard. It's more than that. It's the fact that I actually feel a bit awkward, a bit annoyed about how Michael Jackson's life was managed and influenced negatively by people.
Is it time also to bring that elephant into the room?
I think
And
we need to.
It would be remiss of us. It would be a dereliction of duty as the guardians of the vinyl vault not to discuss his reputation in the latter part of his career and since his sad death, because the allegations against him, and it's important to say that a lot of them were allegations and completely unproven, but also there was behaviors that were caught on camera, that were admitted by Michael Jackson himself, that potentially sour the legacy, that potentially make an opinion, as I have, that if it was purely about music alone, he would be an automatic choice for the vinyl vault, but makes me have second choices. Yes, there certainly were allegations, and let's be honest here, of child molestation, none of which was proved in a court of law. So therefore, we have to.
Yeah, well,
we have to.
We can't just say it wasn't proved in a court of law. He was found not guilty in all charges.
Well, that's what not proved in a court of law means.
Yes, but that's alleging that those allegations were true, and they just didn't prove it. No.
Sorry. I apologize, and I take that back, and I make it clear that the case that went to court, he was, and actually it was a jury trial, and the jury found him not guilty. So let's make that clear. There were other cases, one of which was settled out of court in a civil matter, which also means that he's, it does mean that he's not guilty because it wasn't a criminal trial.
Yep.
But in the court of public opinion, which isn't a real court, it's just public opinion,
yes,
may make some people question it. And then posthumously, there was the documentary, was it called, I think it was called Finding Neverland, where there was allegations made. Again, nothing can be proven.
Well, actually, no. The Finding
allegations.
Sorry, the Finding Neverland was Martin Bashir, and he therefore, he answered that he answered every question that was put to him. The documentary that you're referring to with the older guys that came out with allegations after his death that were shown on Netflix gave him no chance to reply to those allegations, and therefore it was, I thought, very unfair, the fact that it was all one-sided. Just
correctly, I think this is a fact check. I think you're confusing two different things. There was a Martin Bashir interview with him, and then there was a Finding Neverland documentary.
I think it was
they were separate.
I think it was called Searching Searching for Netherland, I think.
Martin Bashir, I don't think, as far as I'm aware, wasn't
Yeah,
involved in
we're
finding
going
Netherland.
into too much detail.
Yeah.
And the truth
What I
is, we've
would
got,
say though, Richard, and the thing that some of the things that impact my thinking was that whilst certainly in in terms of, and it would be remiss to walk past them without any comment, whilst there was allegations completely not
Mm.
found not found to be truthful from a legal process point of view. There were also things that we witnessed that were clearly true, like dangling
Yeah.
a child over a balcony.
Mm.
yeah.
Like, for example, what other things have we got? The strange relationship with the chimpanzee, like the Messiah-like performance at the Brit Awards,
Yeah. But
like the fact that when he died, he seemingly had a drug problem, like the fact that, as far as I'm aware, that he did admit sharing a bed with minors, and there was an accumulation of evidence that seemed to think, at the very least, this person has some very odd behaviors,
yeah, I mean,
and therefore that does, from a personal point of view, make me question at
yeah,
least somewhat the
yeah,
legitimacy
yeah.
of his artistry.
However, if you watch the film like I have, and I know it only deals with part of his life, and for legal reasons they couldn't show that, you will
It
see.
was also the film was also at least partially done with the
Yeah,
I don't know whether the word would be approval. His nephew plays Michael Jackson in it.
yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
not It's
No,
not going to
of
be
course. However,
overly critical.
Stephen, the same with Bohemian Rhapsody. It was a very kind of glossy look at Freddie Mercury's life. But what I will say is that you will see from the way he was treated by his father, which is not, no one's disputing that. Calling him the big nose from the age of 7, big nose in the family, and whipping him into literally into shape. There's no wonder he was insecure about his looks. And let's face it, Michael Jackson, I think, was under the biggest spotlight on earth. And it has been proven,
Undoubtedly, yeah.
it has been proven in his autopsy that he had vitiligo. That's been proven now. He had a skin condition. And of course, when you see the biggest black artist suddenly changing, going paler and paler, and he had treatments to even out his skin, that is now be understandably he wanted to try and do that. Now we live in a world now, guys, where it is quite normal for people to have cosmetic procedures.
Not
Well,
to, Richard,
no,
not to that level.
yeah, but
Not to that level.
the spotlight was on, and he was made to be very insecure about his looks from a very. Can you imagine us at 8 being told you're ugly, big nose, you need to sort this out, and then he had that extremely terrible accident filming the advert, which gave him
Pepsi.
third-degree burns on. He never that hair never grew back. The size of your hand on the back, on the top of his head, it never grew back.
Let's get back to the music. Okay.
Yeah, but we had to deal with that issue.
No,
Well,
you
it would have been
did.
it would have been remiss of us to do that. And I for one, I'll hold my hand up and say, does that influence my opinion on his legacy? Yeah, it does. It does. It's my personal opinion, but
Gareth and Rodney, mud unfortunately sticks. You throw enough mud.
Richard, let me stop you there. I
Mm.
made a very, very clear distinction. I'm doing the Richard with the finger. Look. I made a very, very clear distinction about allegations that
Yeah,
we have to accept, cannot, have not, and cannot in the
yeah.
current time at least be proven, but also things that were absolutely factual.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's move on to the music. For me, it started up really well, but as it went on to later years, it didn't do it for me as much. But if you give me those 3 albums that are behind you at the moment,
Yep.
all superb, everything catchy, I loved that was it, the World song, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Where he was doing the Messiah like performance.
Oh,
I
Heal
thought
the
it was
World.
excellent.
Yeah, by the way, that was on the history. That was 95. So we would have all been around 25. So the first part of the album was greatest hits. The second, he had seven or something like new songs. So we had songs like Stranger in Moscow, Earth Song, and They Don't Care
Earth
About
song,
Us.
sorry, yeah.
They Don't Care About Us. You remember that really excellent beat?
Yeah.
So he had excellent songs even on the B side of the greatest hits.
I went to see the Michael Jackson show in the theater there just recently, and I wouldn't have gone in as a massive fan, but whenever you come out or you watch anything by Michael Jackson, you always are left on a high, never on a low, never on the same plane, and that is a skill.
And I saw people walking out the cinema. They were singing the songs. They had kids dressed up with the trilby, the white socks, the loafers.
The red leather jacket.
It's a hell of a legacy to leave, and to still, like say, kids now still singing the songs and doing the oh and all that. I think
Which is
it's
quite an influence now, Stephen, to say that someone who was predominantly in the 80s stroke 90s
hmm.
has an effect on a kid in
Oh,
the
indeed, and in fact,
2020s.
somebody who sadly passed away a number of years ago. That there's still that legacy
Is
Yeah.
is
is
there.
is that though? Is that because of how professional the people who look after his estate are? And actually how they need or wish to draw revenue from that estate. Because
Potentially.
there's other artists who might have actually had the same impact years later if their estate and their image was as well managed as his had
Well,
been.
I tell you what,
But you
it's
still
been
have
it's
to
been
credit June.
it's been roundly that critics gave it
Oh,
the
I know. I
and
know.
yet it's filling out cinemas in a time where cinemas are struggling.
Yeah.
They're selling out screens of it, and what does that
Well,
say?
biopics are really big at the moment anyway.
They're
Yeah,
not
but
as big as this.
mine was a
No,
theater
it's a
show.
big one.
Mine was a theater show in the West End, again, filled out all different ages as well.
Are we
It's
ready
that
to
age
vote?
span.
I think
Yeah,
we are.
we are.
Are we ready to vote?
Yeah, well,
Shall I go?
Yeah.
yeah.
I have just signed up for Richard's bouncing company, so I'm alongside Richard out the door. And I'm saying to Michael Jackson as he's about to approach, I'm saying to him, come on in. I cannot argue with your reputation, with your record, with your statistics, with your impact on the world of pop. However, should evidence, factual evidence that would legally stand up in court,
No.
and that may not happen. It hasn't happened so far, but should there be factual evidence arrive of a criminal nature, you're back out again. But for now, platinum status.
Platinum State, interesting.
I see, Richard, you nearly went too early there. I knew he was going that way and basically saying, as a bouncer, any messing around, you're out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Right.
Or
Exactly.
probably more accurate to say, any evidence of retrospective
Yeah.
shenanigans
And I
of a
think
legal
And
nature. You're out.
I think that's
and he
very
would
fair.
and he would have said to Stephen the bouncer, Stephen, I have been to court and I was found not guilty on all charges.
Says, I'm going to go with Stephen, and I do like the way he's gone. Any messing around, you're in the platinum vault. Any messing around comes about, you're out.
So platinum.
Yeah.
So this is the guy we need to convince here.
Well,
Aye.
he's in it. But this is interesting, Rodney.
I know.
Look,
I
look
think
at
I know.
look at. I mean, just
He's remembering what I said about Led Zeppelin. That's the
Well,
problem.
no, if it was on a pure personal level, and I'm just purely about
No,
the
you can't go
music,
personal.
I
You
know.
are a judge.
I'm just setting the context. Okay, I'm saying if it was on a pure personal level, And the fact that I've never listened to one of the albums all the way through, I don't own any of the albums. If I was to listen to any of his stuff, it would be from it would be from the Jacksons era, not really from his own era. But I hate to say this, as a Guardian, right? I reluctantly go for full platinum because
Oh, what a beautiful endorsement.
well,
So,
no, but it's a reluctant endorsement because I look he
but then
has,
don't do it. Don't do it.
No,
because
don't let him go. Let him go.
no, because obviously the guy's had a cultural significance. Obviously, there's a legacy there. All the things that I sign up to. It's just
Maybe you should be like Jarvis Cocker was at the Brit Awards.
yes,
And for American listeners who
yes.
are not familiar with this story, let me briefly recount it. I can't remember what the song was. Maybe Richard
Earth Song.
Was it Earth Song?
Yes.
Where he did appear to have some alleged messiah-like complex in the performance,
Which was
where
like in the
it
which was
all
like in the
this.
which was like in the video. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Yeah, and the performance was very similar, surrounded by children, and Michael Jackson's there being the savior, well, seemingly the savior, and Jarvis Cocker, our wonderful indie god, decided that it would be a good idea after, I believe, a few shandies to get up on the stage, and I'm not sure whether it was a bear behind, but it was certainly
Yeah, it was.
behind
It
that
was a Mooney.
it was he mooned Michael Jackson, was then seemingly arrested by the police.
He
But
was.
here's the trivia question. Jarvis Cocker was taken to the local police station. I'm not sure what the charges were. What are you going to do? I don't think it's against the common law to moon at Michael Jackson.
Oh
but
no,
he was
it is.
arrested.
It
He
would
was
be. It would
what?
be.
What for interrupting?
Indecent
Indecent
exposure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now here's
yeah,
the
yeah.
trivia
All right,
question.
I'll
Here's
stop
the
them in his
trivia
tracks.
question. Here's a trivia question.
Was he arrested?
Jarvis Cocker got bailed out after legal intervention.
Yes.
Who provided that legal
Bob.
advice?
Bob Mortimer.
Bob Mortimer, who was a trained-in legal solicitor,
Yes,
went
yes,
down as a
yes.
solicitor and went, well, I think you're going to have to let
Well,
him out.
Look,
Okay, guys.
I got to come back and say, look, as a Guardian, right? My personal choice, no, but as a Guardian and taking the weight of all the other stuff, I'm reluctant.
And swayed by my passion.
No, not at all. I'm actually more swayed by. I think actually he's had two good albums, and I really liked the stuff with the Jacksons, and I liked that period. I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with platinum.
Yeah.
It's a conditional platform
on
platinum.
that bombshell. And I don't think he's able to say it. He's mentally beaten by that. So I will take over Rodney's duties and say thank you all very much for your company on this episode. Like and subscribe. Tune in for the next episode of Guardians of the Vinyl Vault.
Well done, Stephen. Thank you. You saved me. Take care. Bye bye.